Welcome, welcome, welcome. In this quantum conversation, we are working with the energetics of money. And this is where it does go quantum because we can arrive with the energy that's necessary to manifest. My guest today is the founder of the Wealth Works Institute. Kiki Theo is here, and she is all about money alchemy and what needs to be done to correct the energetics. Let's welcome Kiki to this quantum conversation. Hi, Kiki, welcome.
Hi, Lauren. Thank you so much for having me coming to you live from Cape Town in South Africa.
How did you get started in this line of work? How did you awaken to your healing abilities? And really, how did this become the forefront? What was that transformational point in your life?
Well, it's not a point, it's a journey. As you know, it's been going on really my whole life from a very young age. I was very aware that I'm here to help uplift, to help add consciousness, if you like. I mean, I put those words to it later, but I was very conscious from a young age. I had counseling groups. I explored energy, yoga, the spirit world. I could see, I could sense. And well, that's been a lifetime journey of exploration across many, many modalities and many, many paths. And at a certain, I grew up quite humbly with immigrant parents. And so I wasn't brought up in a wealthy home. Money was not what interested me. The spiritual world interested me. Helping others interested me. That's what I did. And then as I grew older, I studied psychology and linguistics and continued with my metaphysical endeavors, if you like. And I went into business from a very young age, and I started growing businesses. And in the course of doing that, which was also a long, long journey, the bulk of it being in fund management, I started and grew my own portfolio management company. I would be doing this during the day, and then on the weekends, I'd be, on some or other metaphysical course where everybody was always broke. So here were these healers, these amazing people who could see auras and channel people and do amazing things, and they were always broke. And I couldn't understand it because I thought, money's energy. How can they do these things and always be broke? So this is when the idea arose for the money aspect. Although there was a point in my life when I decided that if I could become financially independent, then I would go out and teach and heal and help uplift the world. And that was a moment in my life when I had built a business. It had all collapsed. My then husband had a very unfortunate accident. I had discovered that we were actually broke, even though we were living this lavish lifestyle. There was much trauma. And I went from a very big, massive house on an acre and cars and fancy holidays and lots of money to living in a bachelor apartment. And at that point, I went on a Buddhist retreat, and I sat under a tree, which was not the body tree, but still, I sat under a tree and I wrote a list of goals. And I said, if I achieve these things, and it started off with new duvet covers and bedside lamps, because now I was living in this bachelor apartment. And it went on to $1 million in currency and a Mercedes Sports and a baby grand and a fully paid for house and yada, yada, yada. So I had this list, and I said, once I achieve all this, if I achieve all this, when I achieve all this, then I will go off and teach and heal because I really didn't fancy doing all that while I'm broke. So I did achieve everything on that list and more. And then I came to Cape Town, sold my business, came to Cape Town, and for a long time, I thought I'd be doing healing. I trained in more modalities. I did body talk and body alignment, and sound healing has always been my thing. But always I wanted to write a book which presented money as energy. And that's where money alchemy really began. In fact, I started delivering a course. But before that, I spoke to a neighbor and advised him. And he said, oh, this is so amazing. You should tell others. And because I was exploring what to do, I said, well, yeah, okay. And he was an editor of a magazine. So he said, I'll place an advert for you. So the next minute I knew I was consulting as a sort of mentor stroke money alchemist coach person. And that person sent other people and so on and so forth. And I started to deliver courses. And this was 20 years ago now. And then I became very productive. I was delivering courses, people were coming, and I found myself being back in business. Meanwhile, I was supposed to be retired because here I am, still in this lovely house overlooking the sea. My whole manifestation had come to pass, except that I also got married and then had children, which wasn't part of manifestation, but that happened, and which was wonderful. It still is wonderful. And so I was like, this is too much. I need to go off and write. So I went off and I started and wrote the first book, Money Alchemy. And in a little studio I have in Cork Bay, which I still got to this day. And I wrote the first book and sent it to all the publishers, and nobody was interested. And I kept writing the second book because all my books and all my work is progressive. And it was written to this invisible audience, thinking, what will they need next? What will they need next? So in Money Alchemy, I present money as energy, as relationship, as process of transformation of self, as a teacher. And there's a lot of exercises. It's really like the artist's way for money. It's a book that you can process and transform and shift your perspective. And so after Money Alchemy comes Money Well, because that is about how to contain wealth, which is really, what does it mean to contain? Because everybody makes money. Oprah actually once said, it's not how much money you get to make, it's how much money you get to keep. That's the question. And it is. So Money Well, I was busy writing Money Well as I was being rejected by all the publishers. And then suddenly there were like 4 publishers all wanted my book. So my first book, and they wanted to sign me up for 3 books. And I said, no, because I don't know how you're going to perform. But anyway, that's another story. And I continued writing. And so I've now written 11 books, and I teach in pockets. So the books came out and I was very happy writing books. And then I was approached by corporates who wanted me to train their people. And I was like, yeah, okay. And I went back into training. And then it became very, very productive. And then I was like, okay, that's it. I'm withdrawing. I want to tan and look at the sea. And so this is my 3rd round now. I've just had 3 years of delivering online courses to both English audience, and somewhere along the line, funny story, I picked up a Thai audience. Would you believe one of my books, this very book called Money Well, this one, found its way to Bangkok, where somebody picked it up in a secondhand bookstore 10 years ago and wrote to me, as people do, because my books really change people's lives when they work through them. And he wrote to me and said, wow, fantastic, and all the rest. Next minute in 2023, when I start delivering courses online, the same person, his name's Itinat, comes online to attend a course, and he happens to be a music therapist and also a translator. And he happens to get in touch with a mandala teacher who's also Thai and is in Germany, and who has an audience of entrepreneurs that they want me to deliver to. So next minute, I'm delivering all the courses to a Thai audience with him translating, which I've done for the past 2 years as well, which has been very trippy and very nice. Anyway, so in the course of the books, so the books introduce creative processing, which is making the bridge between the logical and creative thinking. But then you have to go to the next step, because that paves the way to energetic processing. So I created energetic processing, which is guided processing, combining energy work in the form of working with symbol, as informed by all the Jungian work. So in my travels, I did 7 years of Jung. And so working with symbol is very core to Jungian work. And so I combine working with symbol with energetic transmutation so that you can transform the whole, what I call money energetics, which is a combination of beliefs, attitudes, and just basically energetic imprinting on an energetic level from one form to the next. And I work with elements, I work in non-ordinary reality, and the work goes as deep as one is ready for. There's no right or wrong way to do it. Just reading the books and doing the creative processing or attending courses and doing creative processing, which is writing, drawing, all that sort of thing, does create an enormous shift. But then going deeper, working with symbol, which you can do without closing your eyes, as we're going to do in a moment, you can, I can sit and talk to you, and we can talk symbol, and we can talk the language of symbol, which is the language of the unconscious, and we can create a transformation that way. But when we go deeper and actually enter non-ordinary reality, where we are, it's like conscious dreaming, if you like, then we are changing things on the archetypal level in that band of reality between ordinary and non-ordinary, where things transform and actually take form from the non-physical to the physical. So we can go there and we can change things, we can change situations, and ordinary reality or normal reality, muggle reality, transforms. So that is the work that I do in a nutshell. And yeah, sort of very small introduction of how I came to be here. And yeah, I hope it answers. It's a long way to answer, but it's just covering most of the key points. It's really, although I say I bridge the world of metaphysics and finance, which I do, because a lot of my work has to do with business and real life experience, because I've started and grown businesses from the ground up. So I know what it's like to hire and fire and market and do the kind of things that you need to do to create success in a business. So I don't really do coaching per se. I do a combination of healing, alchemical transformation, holding a space for people. Because when we do the energy work, I am there holding a healing space, and I'm there moving. I go in there quite sort of neutrally to see what arises and where we move. So even though I do have a broad idea of where or what we're going to do, often when we get there, something different happens. And my task is to be guide and to just allow the energy to flow where it's going without any preconceptions or any predetermined directions. So it's for most people that do this work, because as I always say, I don't do energy 101. When people come to do my work, they have already done, however many decades of whatever. And so they're quite familiar with the landscape. Some people just find it hard talking to images or working in that way. It does get better with time, but some people, I've worked with them for years and they just don't go fully into the energy work, but that's fine. They still benefit working on the business level and on the creative processing level. But mainly I work with people who are in business, mostly quite successfully, who are looking to transform themselves in their business, and who have quite they're quite comfortable with the sort of energetic world, the spiritual world, and who are also just different. They don't fit in. Misfits, like myself.
Misfit, yeah. What an incredible journey that has led you to success. And I'm so glad that you're dedicated to helping others. Most of the people in our audience, they're on that path as well. We are on the metaphysics path. We are on the quantum path. We're healers ourselves, stepping in, discovering our own light again. And some are even at that phase where we're turning around and ready to teach. And this has been very interesting in our world when there's an interesting belief system that I've run across, and I'd like you to expand on this a little bit. When you said that you noticed that there were healers and they're always broke, did you identify that pattern? Because it's a belief system, isn't it? It's an attitude. It's like a history of truth in that person's life. So what did you discover? And I know it's different for everyone, but was there a common thread that you discovered, like a belief, like spirit gets angry when we ask for money, that sort of thing?
Well, it's a complex number of characteristics, like for example, in holographic repatterning, I don't know if you've come across it, you probably have, I'm sure. Started by Chloe Wordsworth, now called resonance repatterning. They talk about, or she talks about, and the whole modality is about pinpointing a whole number of coordinates that come together and at any moment, because the nature of the universe is holographic. There's never just one little cause. There's just a whole number of coordinates, and you can fiddle with one of them. And often it may be that you need the ray of green light, or you need the musical note E flat or something to shift something. And so often, of course, for our rational mind to understand, we say, yes, there's this belief, and yes, there is often a belief. But knowing about the belief is not enough, because we can say, yes, I have this belief, and it came from my mother, and we do indeed process that. That is the way to come in. I'm not answering your question, but I am saying that a belief is one aspect of it. There's a whole energetic. Some of it can go to past lives, and a lot of people go there, but it's not really necessary. Even to know, we're quite obsessed in this world of knowing the why. And the why, we spend years in therapy, once we know the why of this, then we can change it. And often you don't need to know the why. It's not even necessary. All that's necessary is to decide now, here, in this moment, that whatever it is, I'm now going to put out a very strong intent. Intent is one of the things that I work with very intensively. And that is, as the very famous Carlos Castaneda quote, which is quoted in Wayne Dyer's book, Power of Intention. Intent is a force in the universe. When sorcerers beckon it, it comes to them and sets up the path of attainment, which is why sorcerers always achieve what they set out to achieve. Of course, they do, hurry to add in brackets, sorcerers are they who live by source. But nonetheless, just in order not to offend sensitive viewers. But intent is very powerful. And so in this moment, regardless of the why, we can decide, I'm going to change things now from this moment, because I'm putting forward a clear enough intent. On the other hand, talking about the beliefs, a lot of it is ego. And healers will be very shocked to discover this, because most healers believe that they're working so selflessly and without ego. But there's a very egocentric aspect of healers, artists, intellectuals, which is this idea that, we're too good for money. If I had money, money is really for these sort of unenlightened peasants, these kind of people who are destroying the environment, and we're too good. We're too spiritual to have money, or I'm too creative to have money because I'm an artist. It's an identification with a certain archetype. And it's come across the ages, it comes from the whole biblical tradition where, money is the root of all evil, and all those sort of sayings that come within a certain culture. So we have the cultural archetypes that we identify with. And indeed, in a lot of my work, particularly, the relationship, I have a relationship alchemy book and course, because all my courses have also got books, and all my books have got courses. Relationship alchemy, we're looking at all the archetypes that we identify with in terms of, the core archetypes of our lives, mother, father, child, lover, beloved, and what the historical relationship of those archetypes was, or the historical figures, and the underpinning archetype then within our psyche in relation to money. And where do a lot of these beliefs come from that you mentioned, these beliefs? Do they come from mother, father? A lot of the time they come also from the tribe. So what tribal beliefs are we carrying from our church, from our society? What from our culture? What culture did you come from? I mean, for instance, my people, they were fleeing war, my ancestors. So, and they were always sort of in a state of lack. My father, on the other hand, believed in simplicity as a result, which he passed on to me. My mother could never have enough, but she was a Taurian, with all due respect to the Taurians. And so she was very, possession orientated. So I lived with this paradox. So we've got to take so many things into account. So the reason why, going back to your question, a lot of the spiritual people are not wealthy is because they have a bad relationship with money. They identify with being in a certain way, which sort of excludes money. They might identify with people like Mother Teresa or the Dalai Lama. But now, for instance, if you do think about someone like Mother Teresa, who lived with nothing, she was a multi-billionaire, because in terms of the money that she generated, the fact that she didn't keep it, the fact that she gave it away is beside the point. That was a very, 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 very wealthy woman. So people must not get confused. The Dalai Lama and a lot of the monks and other spiritual teachers, their ability to generate wealth is immense. Otherwise, their organizations would cease to exist. So, yeah, I mean, I remember I became a Tibetan Buddhist probably many years ago, of the Kagyu lineage. That's not to say that I don't also identify with being a Greek Orthodox and a few other things. And in fact, I identify and I'm quite happy with quite a lot of the paths that are aligned with peace and love and all the rest. But essentially, I am a Tibetan Buddhist. And I remember when they decided to buy an island, which was a Christian island just off the coast of Scotland. And, like, they were going to buy this island to maintain it for meditation and so on. And in no time, both, millions did appear from whoever, there was a movie, a very funny romantic comedy, and this sort of ditzy blonde person was sort of spending a lot of money, and somebody said to her, "Where's the money going to come from?" And she said, "From wherever it is now." And that is indeed so, so wherever it is, that's where it's going to come from. So people that are on the path, one of my intents for wanting people on the path, broadly speaking, to have money is, I think that money should be in the hands of people who are going to do good with it. And there are so many people who want to do so much good, and they don't have money. And one of the reasons I wrote my books and I offer my courses is so that these people can just get with the program and get some money so they can do all the good that needs to be done, that we need being done on the planet right now. So, yeah, a very long way to not answer your question, because it's a complex question to answer.
Yeah, it is. And so it all comes down to energetics and the
Yes,
frequency. So it's a
yes,
relationship. You said that earlier, and that is so cool. We will be doing a mini energetic session here, but I wanted to
yes,
say that you have a beautiful book. It is Money Energetics. It's an
yeah.
ebook. Now,
Hmm.
that is a very special gift for our entire audience. Anyone who's watching this, come to the page that got you here to this program today, or the link in the description on this video on YouTube, and you'll be able to get access to that free book. That is so beautiful. It's free just for this audience. Normally, you'd have to go and purchase it. Kiki is
Hmm.
offering it to us in this gift today. So go and download that and get started with that. Kiki, tell us about this book, Money Energetics, and how we can begin to work with it. And then we're ready for you to take us into a little mini energetic session.
So Money Energetics outlines my process that I've created, my processing that I've created, which is very, it's not just one process, it is a way of working, using symbol and as container of energy, and using energetic transmutation, which is basically transforming energy. Energy is energy from one form to another, and using a variety of tools, using the elements, using any spiritual help that appears in accordance with anyone's beliefs, and using, the breath, which is basically a variation of Tonglen practice for those who are Buddhists, which is a practice of giving and receiving. And yes, I've combined those things together to create what I call money energetics processing. And the money energetics book gives you the foundational background to it so that you can understand. But there is the important thing, and I say this as an introduction to the energy work we're going to do, there's no right or wrong way to do energy work. The important thing to remember is to enter it without any preconceptions of, of any other work that you're doing. And this is actually important to do for any energy work and any healing work. People come into healing work and they use the framework of something else they've done and they overlay it on that. So now when I ask people to shut their eyes and so on, now they're trying to put a screen up because they're trying to do some other process, and that is not what we're doing. So the important thing with processing and with any healing and any process is to stick with that process and the parameters of that process in order to achieve the results. So essentially, we are allowing image to arise. We are not manifesting. That is a different process. When we go in and say, okay, now I'm going to manifest a house, and I'm going to, get my screen, if that's what you're doing, and picture the house and feel the house and put the energy in and all the rest. That is a different process. That's not what we're doing. What we're doing in this work is we are allowing the unconscious, and we're allowing that area of reality, which is non-verbal in the logical sense, which has a different logic, which thinks in pictures and in feelings and colors. We are allowing that aspect of ourselves to talk to us in the form of an image, which we then take and we then converse with that image, and we then transform that image on the second level of it. And we go further to doing other things as well, depending on the process. So money energetics is a way of working specifically with the area of money. It's transformational work, like any other work. Well, not like any other work, but a lot of the transformational work starts off with transformation, and then they go to various areas. I go in from the doorway of money, but it is in essence transformational work, transformation of self and wealth, because in order to change your relationship with money, in order to become more wealthy, you have to change. So that is core and central to the work. You have to change yourself, you have to change your beliefs, your attitudes, your resonance. Very importantly, your resonance. You have to change a lot of the things that you're doing. That's on a more practical level. If you're talking about business, there are definitely things that are successful. You have to learn what are the successful and the non-successful actions to perform. And because my work is primarily also about results. It's very nice to have a workshop or do a process and feel very good and carry on with life the next day as if nothing happened. And we've all had that experience. We get very excited at a workshop, and then life continues as per usual. So the work has to be done and continued, but it is very light work, and it's quite easy for anybody to do. Essentially, one of the core things also is believing in the impossible. And that is what the energy work asks of you as well. Not believing that anything is possible, that's a different thing. It is believing in the impossible. It is believing that even as I'm sitting here looking at this blue glass, I believe that this glass is in fact red, and that it is very unlikely as I look at it now that it's red, but it's not impossible that it's red. And so when something is blue and we want to turn it red, that is a very big part of the work, because this happens every day. And that's the point at which, even though we started by saying money is energy, everything is energy, that is my starting point, is that everything is energy, everything is connected, everything exists by virtue of relationship. Now, of course, particularly this audience will say, yes, yes, absolutely. Until tomorrow, an email arrives, a client has left. Written in stone, isn't it? So at that point, people forget that everything is energy. And so that is what working with this work is intended to do, because, as I mentioned before, I was working in both business and the sort of metaphysical world simultaneously. Everything I'd go off and learn on the weekends, I was practicing in the boardroom, because that's where I spent most of my life. And so I had an opportunity to practice metaphysical things in the physical world and create success, which is what I'm teaching now based on my experience, and how to, in fact, take the fact that things are energy and to use them in day-to-day life. And one of the core things, the point of departure, people have asked me, what the one secret of success, what makes people successful? And my answer is a flexible mind, a very flexible mind, a mind that can look at reality and say, well, actually, it's not solid, because we know it's not solid. But as I said, when something happens, like you get an email or somebody says something, it's suddenly written in boulders. It's like, well, that's it now. Now I'm suggesting that you go and relook at that email and see if something's changed. And I'm suggesting that when that email comes and it says whatever, you say, well, it could be a mistake. It could be this, it could be that. And train the mind. A lot of it is mind training. Train the mind to look at many, many, many other possibilities, insane possibilities, ludicrous possibilities, possibilities that might be improbable, but not impossible. And in that way, we can shift reality, and we can always be looking at doors opening instead of doors shutting. And yes, that starts by being able to go into non-ordinary reality and converse with an image, even though your rational mind might be saying to you, are you quite sure you're going to be speaking to this iron? And this iron is actually talking to you, is it? Yes. I think you've lost it. So that is where it starts.
Wow. All right. We're going to do a little experience with you, and we're looking forward to that. And again, everyone watching this should go download that book. Absolutely, because that gives us such a great foundation for it. There's also a video course that even goes deeper, and that's a new tool, and that's also available. I wanted you to share, Kiki, can you expand on how you used metaphysics in the boardroom? What did you change in the boardroom when you used this? I mean, you use this technique, this resonance, and you did it in a boardroom on a business level. What can you think of an example and how things shifted, how you've shifted reality on a business level?
Oh, so many, 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 many things. Where should I
Yes.
start?
And how did others
Well,
take it? And, did you softly influence others? Because you had to come
oh
in
yes.
sideways very gently and subtly, I'm sure. You couldn't just say, think of the
Well,
impossible, right? You had to open up minds in a different way. How
well,
did you do that?
there are many things. On a very basic level, we influence reality with what we say and what we think all day long. And so one of the things I gave up when I was 18, and that was a very long time ago. Don't ask me how long ago, it was a very long time ago. I stopped watching the news. I don't watch any form of news at any time, ever. So that is one way to create your own reality. I also don't like, for example, I don't like the GPS that tells you how long it'll take you to get somewhere. My husband tells me, because I don't like anybody disagreeing with me, and I don't like anyone telling me what to do, which is also true, but it is because I decide when I leave somewhere how long it'll take me to get somewhere. And that is not based on reality. It's based on my decision. And I don't want the GPS contradicting me and telling me that it'll take longer, because I have proven time and again that you can get somewhere in time frames that are out of normal reality.
Bending
If you
time.
get into the right space. You can skip time, literally.
You can
And
bend time. Wow.
yes,
You've seen
and
the
I have
magic
done
of
that.
this. Okay. And
Yes.
how do you do that? It's a resonance again, right? It's
The
a
resonance, and it's a slowing down. And it's a practice, though. All of these things are a practice. And when I say I practice in the board, I practice in my day-to-day life. I remember one day when I was driving into work, this was in Johannesburg, and it would take 20 minutes to get from where I was to work without traffic. And I hit traffic. Now, I'm never late. So I have certain stable foundations, which are I'm always on time. You don't say I'm never late. You say I'm always on time. So I'm always on time, guaranteed. I don't care. There can be hurricanes, extraterrestrials can arrive. I will be on time. So here I was in the traffic, and it's a feeling. I decided, it was quite insane. I decided the way to get there quicker was to go slower and to slow down. So I sort of went into, I don't want to say a trance-like state, but something similar to it. It's a feeling and it's a space. You go into no time. You know, it's that feeling when you get so absorbed with something that you forget, you know, you like wake up and you think, oh my God, you know, I've been writing for 5 hours or meditating, whatever it is. So I stepped out of time and I got there in 15 minutes in traffic, which was impossible because it takes 20 minutes without traffic. And so that taught me an important thing. So then what I did is we had to do this enormous amount of filing because it was the age of paper. You know, we didn't have computers and all that. And we were in fund management. So there were stockbrokers' notes, and every month you had to collate the stockbrokers' notes and statements. And we also had an inordinate amount of research which would come from all the stockbrokers. And so the admin department, you know, at month end, it was a whole procedure, and everybody would even, you know, come in to do it. And I would go in and say, right, okay, how long should this take? And they'd say, well, I don't know, many hours, 7 hours or whatever, 5 hours. So, okay, we're going to do it in 4. And so you set a parameter. So you use money as a, money as a container, yes, but you use time as a container. So so I would set this and we would do it. And if you read my books, in Manuel, I talk about, while I'm writing about it, I'm exercising that because what I discovered that I could write X number of words in Y amount of time. And while I'm writing Manuel, I'm writing there, okay, I'm now going to write twice the number of words in half the time. And again, I would do it. So I would practice that. Then talking about the word, I practiced spreading positive rumors. One might say I was lying. I don't believe in lying, but I do believe in practicing positive rumors. So that was the time when hijackings started to happen and South Africa started to become very unsafe, and there was a lot of crime and violence. And so clients would arrive. Clients were usually older people. Well, certainly I was very young, so everybody was older always. And they were very concerned about their safety and well-being. And I started to say to them, and it then happened, I started to say this. I started to say, yeah, I have heard about this, but you know, have you heard about this thing where the crime's carrying on, but it's just become less violent? People are just, yeah, they are robbing and so on, but the violence has decreased. Have you heard about this? And they'd be like, when it started, people were, and I completely made this up. People were like, really? I promise you, it was not a week had gone by before I was told of an incident where someone broke in, and they were very, very polite and apologetic as they robbed these people. And then it was in the news. And I know for a fact that I created that. I totally created that in the universe. So there was that going on. And then it went further into using energy work when it came to selling our business. You know, you sell a business and then the lawyers and everybody, you sold to a listed company. And so people sit around boardrooms and everybody's lawyer has another idea. And it goes on and on and on and on and on and on. Meanwhile, you've sold the business, but you're trying to hold the space for the business, and you're trying to hold the space for the sale, which is very difficult. And so I did a process of offering symbolic gifts and receiving symbolic gifts to those people. And that was very, very helpful to move the deal on. And then the other thing is that I taught all my consultants to actually prepare for the presentation by speaking to the person before they had the meeting, particularly when it came to having someone that had a lot of objections. So you literally can shut your eyes, you can call on that person, speak to them, tell them how you feel. You can do this with conflict situations as well. Always, if it's a conflict situation, put them inside a circle of protection, put yourself inside a circle of protection, and you can speak to them, you can hear what they say. And I promise you, you then go to the meeting and it's like as if you have had the conversation, because hello, you did, just in another universe. And then, of course, in my energy work in my one-on-one client sessions, I have a group of clients I've been working with for many, many years. We do that sort of thing. And sometimes we look at what cords are connecting you, whether there are any cords that are not beneficial, that need to be cut or changed, and anything like that. So those are some of the very basic applications, but also just creating your own reality. We would draw fees on the size of on the total size of the client base. So in fund management, as you know, the same as unit trusts, portfolios, you take a percentage of the value of the portfolio. And so I would do this manually, even though we had computers and staff. Every quarter, I would sit down with this enormous ledger and I would manually write down the person's name, the size of the portfolio, and I had one of those calculators that has a little thing and you can click on, and I would manually calculate it and write it down. But before I started, I would get a number in my head and I would say, that's the number. And I would work, that number would come to pass, and it wasn't based, so you create the reality before you create the reality. And this is also one of the things that I teach. And one of the things that people can take away with them today is to set your intent, on what are you hoping to create in a month? What's your number? So whether you're a healer or whatever you're doing, you have overhead, you have a certain number that you want to achieve at month end in order to cover your overheads, in order to make a profit. So what is that number? And that number doesn't have to be a multiple of 10, people working tens, 10,000, 20,000. Get a number that you resonate with, because number basically has quality. Numbers are the building blocks of the world. And you find a number that you like, that you resonate with, that is outside your comfort zone, but not so far out of it that you can't relate to it. So you can't be earning, 100,000 and suddenly you want to turn that to 15 million because the gap is too big. So going to a container, the container has got to be big enough that you can see the edges. Otherwise, it's like a sea and you can't contain it. So number is important, and a big shift can take place once you become friends with number. People are scared of numbers, which is quite funny because numbers are literally the building blocks of the world. They underpin shape, and number and geometry underpins everything. So coming up with a number and then bringing that number to pass by holding an intent for that is another way of working in the boardroom in the way. So I've given sort of a broad, broad examples, a number of examples of how you can use working in ordinary reality to create results.
I love it. Thank you so much. We're just looking back in our life and witnessing times when we did that, or maybe we're witnessing times when we missed the mark on it. So it's beautiful that we are creating the reality before it's created, and that you are believing in the impossible. Really beautiful and powerful, that flexible mind. So let's take a little journey here so that we can get a little taste of the energetic. Tell us what we're going to do. And I don't know, I like the intention of setting that number. Or
Yeah,
I'm
you've
gonna
got
I'm
a
gonna
number.
yeah, okay.
And you start off with a turnover number if you're more comfortable. There's the number, there's you, and there's your mind. And your mind might give you a problem, but then you need to talk to it. So, for example, you find a number that you resonate with. So it could be 18 instead of 20 or 100 or, so you find a number and let's say, 180,000 is what you want to achieve for the month. And it could be turnover because, profit might scare you. And you should say every month. I learned that little secret. I was working on straight commission at one point between the businesses, and I said I wanted to do a certain amount a month per month. And I did 0 between month 1 and 8, and between month 8 and 12, I averaged out the per month, and I learned specificity is very, very, very important. Be specific. 180,000 per month, every month, every month. So, or more. People are scared to commit because it's like, oh, well, if I do 180, does that mean I can't get 200? What if I'm keeping something away? Well, you know what? You can do 180,000 now this week, and then you can do it again. Because now once you've hit a number that you resonate with and that you can call to you and that you can manifest, you just do it again, and you do it every week. And then you might do it every day, and, and so on. And then at a certain point, you convert the turnover number into a profit number, because raising your turnover endlessly while your overheads keep going up is just a pointless exercise, really. And a lot of people do that. So that also a lot of people are in debt with just, you can be in debt with a small income, and you can be in debt with a very big income, and you can be in the same place. It's just that you've got prettier things around you, which is nice, but it doesn't change the fact that you're really in the same place, although it's prettier. So, number, very important. If there's one thing that can change a business, it's to direct everybody into the purpose of the business is to create a profit. Always. If you're an NGO, a non-profit organization, you have to create a profit, because if you don't, you will not be in business. So it's very funny sometimes when I used to do corporate training, I'd go into a company and all the directors would come from around the country and all the rest and sit down. It's like, why are you here? What is your intent? What are you doing here? And what would the company lose if you were not here? Correct answer is profit. If you're doing your job, you should be adding profit. So I talk also about creating templates. That's another thing you can do in the real world. Have your must-have, great-to-have, mustn't-have list. I've just brought out my latest book. It's literally being launched now, called the Money Alchemy Workbook, that has all my creative processing that can be used in real life and in business. And one of the processes is what I call clarity lists. Your must-have, great-to-have, mustn't-have list. And anybody in your business must add value, and they must deliver, and they must do so pleasantly. Adding value means adding profit in terms of a business. The business must add value. Otherwise, you don't want that business either, because the business exists as an entity in itself as well. We create the business. It's like a child, but the business also is an energetic being, person, energy, that exists, and it must add value. It's not there to drain you and take away your value and your energy and your time and your life force and produce no result. Otherwise, rather sit and tan. So, number, that is about number and about profit. What can change your business is to inform everybody working for you that the reason they're there is to create a profit. It might shock a lot of people. They don't like the word profit, people generally. It's an even more contentious word than money. If you say money, people can still manage that, but if you say profit, oh my God, profit is only for those really unspiritual, terrible companies that are destroying the world. But that's not true.
All right, thank you. That's really good. Is there anything else that we need to do as we're creating this energy container? So we've got our favorite number. And so we've got this. So here we are for this month. We have a number. Everyone just play around and pick that number. And then I like the profit. And again, I can already sense that some are being like, woo, wow. And so we're feeling a belief system coming up around that, like an unworthiness, like, what am I going to, I'm starting to sense that with our group right here, that some may say, I don't need that much money. But this is part of the mind shift. We are allowed to ask for more, and that's not greed, especially if we're going to use it for something, right? Can you share a little bit about that? And then how would we alchemize some of those feelings that come up around it?
Well, it goes back to what I said before with people and ego. If you are really, really devoted to being of service, it's the same subject that comes up with follow-up. So a lot of people would like, oh no, I can't follow up anybody because they might think I'm after their money. If you're really, really concerned about somebody, and as a healer, as a practitioner of anything, even as a salesperson of selling anything to anyone, if you think you're really delivering value and you're there to serve the person, and you cannot park your ego enough to have sufficient concern for the person that, you shouldn't even have to think that you're parking your ego. Your concern for the person should be such that you follow up. You say, I haven't heard from you. Are you okay? I would like to offer you another session. You haven't come for a while. How are you doing? Or to follow up on, you're trying to sell someone something. It is your job as a salesperson to follow up with them. It's not their job to chase you. This is what people get wrong. And if you are there with the attitude of service and giving and delivering, I delivered a course called The Heart of Business. And at some point, this will become available for purchase. And there I spoke a lot about the definition of work as delivered by Khalil Gibran in The Prophet. And it says that work is love made visible. And it says, or he says, that to work with love is to weave cloth with threads from your own heart. It's to charge all things you fashion. Yes, weave with the threads of your own heart, and it's to charge all things you fashion with the breath of your own spirit. To charge all things you fashion with the breath of your own spirit. And that is our point of emanation in business, charging everything with the breath of our own spirit. Now, where in that are we holding back? Where in that are we wanting to not do more, to not create more, and therefore to have the fruits of the labor, which is the money that we can continue to generate for the world? And that's all I can say about that, and that the money has to start to go, and money doesn't actually exist anyway, really, because what is it and where is it? But it's everywhere, and it's just energy to be redirected. And that is really all it is. And if we look around, we live in an abundant universe. It is the nature of energy, the nature of spirit, the nature of the universe to be abundant. The roses just grow, they don't say, oh, well, gosh, we've given them 3. I think that should be enough. They're a small family. Why do we want to create more? The gardens flourish and grow, and if you leave them alone, they continue to flourish and grow. The trees grow, everything grows. Everything grows. It is a productive universe. It is in the nature of cycles to continue and continue. So if you are not being productive, you're holding back. Why are you holding back? Why are you holding back your creative spirit and the purpose that you are here for? Because we have all come here to deliver a gift. We, according to the Greek mythology, we know before we leave the other realms, we are given a task and we are given gifts that we are here to deliver to the world. And if we don't deliver them, not only are we less than, but the whole world is less than the gifts that each individual person has to deliver. But unfortunately, according to Greek myth, we cross the river Lethe, the river of forgetting, and we get here and we forget why we're here. And this is why we each get given a daemon, not a demon, a daemon, guardian angel, who's there to remind us and to nudge us and remind us of why we're here. So that is talking around generating more, because it is really the result of giving. And it's not, people are like, oh, I want to give so much. No, you allow it to flow, and it is in the nature of it to flow. And if it's not flowing, there's something blocking it. And in the Money Well book, part 2, Money Flow, we talk about leaks and blocks to wealth flow, what creates them, and how to get rid of them both physically and energetically. And now I think we should do some energy work.
Wonderful. Thank you. Awesome. That would be great, Kiki. Thank you.
So I think, so what I typically do at the beginning of the year is I see what doors open into the year and go through those doors. But I think since we're talking about money and money energetics, I think we should do a little process where we can talk to money and see what it has to say to us, and then see also what doors open into the year and see how that goes. Are you happy with that?
I think that's awesome, and we're so excited for it. Thank you. We're going to listen to Money Talks. Thank you.
Okay, so everybody take a few deep breaths and shut your eyes. And first of all, start off with a stretch. Stretching up high, and then just stretching out your body, making sure your legs and arms are uncrossed. Taking a few deep breaths, and another deep breath. And one more. And just relax. Relax your head. Relax your eyes. Relax your jaw. Relax your neck. Relax your shoulders. Relax your back. Relax your spine. Relax your chest. Relax your stomach. Relax your legs. Relax your arms. Relax your feet. Relax completely. So we're working with the intent of the expansion of self and wealth. We're working with the intent of going to the next level along your path. And we're working with the intent of talking to money and seeing what doorways open into the new year. To this intent that we go forward to do this work. So first of all, allow golden light to come in through the top of your head, coming down as the central core through the center of your body, going deep into the earth, connecting you with your highest intent and purpose and the ability to manifest that on earth, as above, so below, as below, so above. And allow this golden light to spread through your arms and legs, anchoring it through the bottom of your feet like the roots of a tree, breathing it into your energy field. And it's in alignment with this connection with the divine that we do this work. At the same time, draw up the black silver energy of Mother Earth, also coming up through the central core, allowing heaven and earth to meet, allowing the masculine and feminine principle to unite, and breathing that into your body and energy field so that whatever we create and manifest is created and manifested and grounded on the earth. We welcome also all the alignments and planetary configurations, the 4 directions and the elements. And we welcome any angels, guides, spirit animals, ancestors that come in the name of highest truth and light in accordance with your beliefs that are here to help with this process. So I want you first of all to put yourself inside a circle of protection. And then I want you to allow an image to arise of an object, animal or thing that represents money. And you look as a tiny speck appears in the distance. And as it comes closer, it takes form. And this is an image, a symbol that represents money. It's the first image that comes to mind. It's the first image that you see. You might have a sense of seeing it, or you might actually physically see it. And you invite this image to take a seat in front of you, and you look at it from above and below in every direction with a sense of what it looks like. See whether it's big or small, light or heavy. And put it inside a circle of protection also. If it is a person that has appeared, ask for a symbol that represents that person, if it's somebody that you know that has appeared there. If, on the other hand, it is possibly an archetype of money in terms of a being, then that is fine. And now you ask this image to tell you a bit about itself, this image which represents money. And you hear what it has to say. Again, you might hear words, or you might get a sense of what it's saying. What else does it say? You ask it any questions that you may have right now about money or money making or the way forward. And you listen for the answers. And now you ask it what it needs in order to transform to the next level. Maybe it needs to become bigger. Maybe it needs to change location. Maybe it needs a hat or a pair of high-heeled shoes. What does it need in order to transform? And because you're in a place where anything is possible, you perform those changes. Ask it if there's anything else that it needs. And perform those changes also. And ask it to tell you a word that you can take with you into the new year that will help you move forward. And then thanking the image, allow it to move into the distance, knowing it is an aspect of yourself, knowing that you can call on it again, but next time you call, it may not look the same. And putting your focus and intent on the fact that the work you've done here will bear fruit on the physical, transforming that aspect of money that needs to be transformed at this time. You allow this image to move into the distance until it has disappeared. Now you allow a golden pathway to open from your heart, going to the place between time and space. And you start to walk along this pathway, feeling safe and comfortable and warm. And you invite any helper to appear that is there to help you, that comes in the name of highest truth and light. This could be guardian angel, spirit guide, ancestor. And when they appear, you thank them for being there. And you start to walk along the pathway. And as you go further up, you ask to be shown the doorway that opens into the year. And when you see that doorway, you have a look at it. You get a sense of what it's like, what it's about, what it feels like. Get a sense of the surroundings of it. And ask this doorway what it has to say to you right now. And then you open the doorway and you walk through with your helper and see what's on the other side. This is the doorway that opens into 2026. And you look around and you see what it looks like and what it feels like. You see if there's anybody there that has anything to say to you. And you ask any questions you have to ask of this place, becoming familiar with it, walking around it, seeing anything that you need to know and be aware of. And you draw up the coordinates of the place from the bottom of your feet, from the earth, so that as you walk through the year, the earth may guide you. And as you draw up the earth, you become aware of the water, which is also beneath the ground, and perhaps you have even seen water there. And you draw up the water into your body so that the streams of the earth may guide you also. And you draw in the air through your mouth so that the winds may also direct you as you move through the year. And you look up and find the sun and draw in the fire from the base of your spine, warming and not inflaming, so that the warmth may warm your heart and the fire may also guide and inspire you. And then you look down on the ground and you see a symbol, a gift to take with you. And you pick it up and you look and see what it is. And you see where in your body or energy field you need to place this. Or perhaps you just take it with you. And then thanking the place, reminding yourself of all the coordinates you've taken with you, which you carry within you now. You start to walk back out through the door, leaving it open, putting your focus and intent on walking in accordance with your path into the year. And you walk back along the pathway to where you started, thanking your helper, watching as they move away into the distance, knowing they're always with you. And then putting your focus and intent on the fact that the work you've done here will bear fruit on the physical, allowing you to move with purpose into your year, guided and helped by money. Those at the top of your head, the connection with the divine Mother Earth remains, and allowing a golden pathway to open from your heart, going into the future, which is open, grounded, and balanced. Slowly start to walk back to this time and place on the 20th of January 2026. And before you open your eyes, I'd like to dedicate the merit of this work to our enlightenment and the enlightenment of all beings, peace on earth, and the children of the earth. It's my intent that everybody got exactly what they need for the next level along their path. And when you're ready, you can slowly open your eyes.
Wow, thank you. The feeling and the vibration that we got from that is so beneficial and so helpful, Kiki. Wow. All right. I hope people write down the message that they received and any other notes because, wow, for me, it's like action. In a
Yeah, it's
nutshell, it's
nice
take
to
action. It's just do it.
have a word. I mean, typically at the beginning of the year with my clients, we decide on a word that is like a beacon, like a guiding light, for the year. And it's nice to have that word. And also, please make sure, everybody, that you are back, touch the earth and the ground, and make sure you're here and drink some water. And anything you do need to write down to remember, yes, but don't be attached to remembering either, because you will remember what you need to remember. And it doesn't matter, some people fall asleep. The work is still being done, even if you are asleep. What really has happened is you've opened the door into the year, you've got the coordinates that will guide you, and also you have entered a new relationship with money and transformed it. And without a
Yeah.
doubt, things will transform in your life in ways that you can't sort of link up, but it will happen. So yes, I wish everyone a great, great and wonderful year.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And again, energetically, it feels really wonderful. And seeing that symbol was really important and powerful and profound. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And again, we hope that everyone enjoyed this. You can listen to this again. Just go back to it and revamp it if you missed it, if you were multitasking, because this is important. Again, this is all
Mhm.
about the energy of money, money energetics, and it begins with you. So, this is energy work from Kiki today in service to your life. And we really, truly hope that you received this because it will shift many things in your life. Thank you, Kiki, for this. So beautiful. Again, I want to say, everyone, go download her gift of that book, Money Energetics ebook. It's here for you. It's Kiki's gift with her generous heart. And there's also a video course that goes even deeper. And so if you learn with the video course and you're excited about what you got here, that is available as well. Kiki, tell us about this. It's an hour and a half, and wow, it's more energy work around money. Tell us about this course, please.
Well, it's really more of how to use energy work, and it's got a lot of energy work in it. So it's more of this and going deeper. So and how to use it in your day-to-day life. So it's kind of just expanding on quite a lot of the things that we discussed today and what we did, which was a small taste, but there is more of it, obviously, on the course.
Much more of it. And that is for those who wish to go forward, because what we've done here is complete. What you did for us today shifted us and gave us new breath of life for this beautiful year that is upon us. But at the same time, there's going to be people, there are beautiful souls that are ready for this in a beautiful way. And Kiki is making herself available to work with you. So we hope that you've enjoyed this and you are excited for the free gift and also for the option of owning that course from Kiki. Thank you so much, Kiki. Again, you've left us in a beautiful space. I want to give you a moment for final thoughts as we close today.
Well, my final thoughts or intent is that people start to create the new beautiful world that we've all been speaking about or speaking into existence or, aspiring towards for so long, and to not succumb to the panic and the chaos and the apparent reality that is going on, and to not share any negative news and to not share any conspiracy theories and other such disastrous disasters, and to focus on goodness, speak the goodness, focus on the goodness, spread the good news at all times, regardless of what you may see or may hear. I think it's very important that we hold on to the soundest light, and we hold on to the light, at all times, at all times. And at the moment, there are these wonderful monks that are walking through America. I mean, aren't they fantastic? If you're going to watch anything, watch them. And there is so much good news going on. I follow goodnewsnetwork.org, and every week they send you a whole pile they email you all the good news that has happened and there's so much of it. New species are being, you know, springing up out of nowhere and being reintroduced. There's so much good that's going on in the world at all times, and we need to focus on that. So those are my last thoughts: is believe, some would say, in the impossible, believe in peace, and believe in light and in love and in goodness, and speak it into reality all day long. That's my final thought.
I just want to give you a big hug right now because that is so important for the need of the hour. Thank you. I'm a journalist, former journalist, and so I've been trained to look at the paper. I read, don't watch. I read cover to cover, and I used to think, oh, I'm strong enough. But talking to you today just reinforces the power of our consciousness, steering our consciousness, protecting our consciousness. So I love that. And I'm making that change within me today. And there's at some point we say, how do we step up? And you just said it. We step up in the sound of love, anchoring light in all ways. Frequency first, frequency. New Earth is a frequency. And that old crumbling of the old system is a lower frequency that just puts us in fear. And it doesn't mean that we're not taking action, but the action that we're taking is the love action. That's really important. So I love your final comments there, Kiki. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you. Thank you for holding this wonderful space that, is a point of light, that people can come together and recharge their light, and we need to have more of these points everywhere. So thank you for spreading the good news, because that's what you're doing, really.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And you're spreading powerful service to the world around this money and prosperity. It is a birthright, our abundance. We can see it all around us. Now we just cultivate it in our life. And everyone, thank you too for watching. You've been given a beautiful gift today. Again, go download Kiki's Money Energetics ebook. You're going to love it. And we hope that you check out all of her books and her course as well. Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Kiki, for this beautiful quantum conversation. Namaste.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
This has been a presentation of New Earth One Network, your home for New Earth living. Access information, education, and videos on living from the heart in unity consciousness. Visit newearth1.com.